Okay, hello everybody. I'm going to go over the homework that you were supposed to do last class. Hopefully, most of you did it. If you did not, don't just copy the answers because that's not going to help you learn it. You were supposed to, for 1 through 6, it just says parabola that opens up. So really that means A can be any value. If you decided to put a number here in front of that parentheses, that's fine. It just needs to be positive. So I could have put a 2 or a 3 or a 4 there. Same with any of these. I just left the invisible 1 instead because that does show that it is positive. So these would all be in factored form. They each gave us our x-intercepts. Remember, whatever value you see, the opposite is in the parentheses. So if you see a minus, you actually put a plus. So here are the answers for 1 through 3. 4 through 6, same type of thing. You're looking at the two intercepts, so you're putting it in intercept form. But in these cases, it's opening down, so that means A is negative. I just put a -1, but you could have put a -5 or a 4 or any negative number you could have put there, and that would make the parabola point down. This one is tricky. This only has one x-intercept. So that means that one x-intercept is going to be your vertex. So if you were to set it up in this format, you would end up having that intercept listed twice. And so it would be like this squared, which actually is vertex form if your y is 0. So that one was a tricky one. For the rest of this page, you were supposed to cross out the point and change it to an A equals. And then I just told you to have the A equals whatever that X value is in the point to make it easier. So we're not expecting you to be able to do this with a point. We will give you the A value. So here, this is vertex form. I put in my vertex they gave me for my H and my K, and then my A. And this is the equation. Number 8, you were supposed to cross out the point and change it to A equals -2. And then this would be your format when you have H is 4, K is 5, and so on. 9, same thing. You were supposed to make that an A equals 4. And then I told you to skip 10. So there is 9, and you were supposed to skip 10. Okay, these answers are on Canvas if you need to look at them. And they're in the notebook in the back of the room if anyone needs to look at the answers. So you were just supposed to be writing the equations for each of these. Okay, moving on to the next page. You can ask the sub to pause it if you need more time. Okay, so for these, it says this vertex, the parabola that opens up. So you're supposed to put it in vertex form and the parabola that opens up. So that means you can pick any A that is, this one's opens down. You can pick any A that is less than 0. So I just picked -2. You can pick any A. You could have picked -5, -3, -1. It doesn't matter. It's just the negative value here will make it point down. So this number can be anything. So basically, you can pick any number here. I picked this one, but you can pick any number. Same with this, but this one opens up, so it has to be a positive number. So I picked a positive number. And then because that vertex piece is 0, you can actually just change this to an x squared. So basically, this simplifies to an x squared. Okay. 13. You were supposed to cross out that point and change that to A equals -1. So your equation should look like that. Number 14 and 15. You were changing your A to -4 and 6, and so your equations should look like that. Your P and Q, which are your two intercepts, are remember, when your intercepts are negative, when you put them into the format, it changes the sign because you have x minus p and x minus q. So a x minus a minus 8 will end up being x plus 8. And down here, you have x minus p, x minus q. Our p and q are both positive, so you still have the minus signs. Okay, so that is the homework. I'm going to start. So right now that you've checked your homework, you should be doing the EOC warm-up next. I'm going to have the substitute pause it right here, have you guys work on the EOC warm-up, and then I will go over that shortly. So please pause the recording because I'm about to go over the EOC warm-up, and I want you guys to do it first. Okay, so supposedly you've done the EOC warm-up. If you haven't, pause it now. Okay, so inequality that represents the value of x for y when y is 46. So basically you're just putting in 46 for y here. So you're taking this exact equation as you see it. You're substituting in y equals 46 right here. And then you have to solve and simplify. So you distribute the 6 to both of the x and the negative 18. Then you do 108 minus 2. And you keep simplifying. And then you end up with x is less than 10. So here, when we get to this point, we actually divide by a negative 6, which switches the sign. But if you notice, the x is still on the right side. So usually when we look at it, and especially when our answer choice is over here, we have x on the left side. So just look where the mouth is eating. The mouth is eating the 10. So when it's written with x on the left side, the mouth should still be eating the 10. So the mouth is eating the 10, and here the mouth is still eating the 10. So make sure when you rewrite that, you have the mouth in the right direction. This one says blue whales gain weight at a constant rate. And so they give you the weight. The blue whale weight is W, the days is D, and it says for the first 6 months, this is the model. And so which statement is not true for the average blue whale? So if you look at some of these, it says average blue whale weighs 3 tons at birth. Okay, well, let's look at this. So this is our initial equation. This is the rate that the baby whale is growing, 0.1 per day or 10% per day. And 3 is the initial value. So that is your initial value. Remember, the y-intercept or that constant in a linear equation is your initial value. So this one is true. When the blue whale is 5 days old, it will weigh 20 tons. Well, if you put in 5 for D, so here I did D equals 5, I would get 3.5. So that one is not correct. And if you just wanted to double check that the other two are, it says that it gains 0.1 ton per day. That is true. That is the rate. And the average blue whale will weigh 18 tons in 150 days. If you plug in 150 here, you will get 18 tons. You could also just put this into your, graph it in your calculator and look at the data table to see that at 3 tons, it is, or at birth, or 0. So that means days equals 0. At day equals 0, you can look at the data table and figure all that out. You can see that this is true. You can see that that's not true. So just by plugging this into the calculator and graphing it and looking at the data table, you can figure out what information is true. It says, which representation is not a function, or actually does not show y is a function of x. So that means x has no repeats. So here, x has no repeats, so it's a function. Here, x has no repeats, it's a function. This one does not pass the vertical line test, so that is not a function. So that answer would be D, which representation does not show y as a function of x. This one. Okay, is there more EOC? Yes, more